Well, hello there, and welcome to the bathroom of the dollhouse, where all the big thinking gets done. And what are we cooking up today, even though we're not in the kitchen? Well, another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers for January 24th, the day of the Aloof Icon. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of the aloof icon. Well, we have us an image that kind of follows a bit of a theme the past few days here. That's right. Something oversized and something small. So it's either a regular sized pool table with a giant cue ball, or perhaps a tiny pool table with an oversized ball, or, vice versa. Who's to say? But they've been doing that with a bunch of the different days here for some particular reason. Oversize this, smaller that. You get the point. That having been said, does that speak to the day of the aloof icon? I don't know. Who's to say? But that having been said, it's not altogether all too important. I just want you to kind of see what I have on the page in front of me. But what is important around these here parts is it's a January 24th, and hence it's got to be somebody's birthday, right? I'm assuming that's why you're here. And so what's important around here, wishing you a happy birthday. So I just want to say happy birthday. That's the most important thing. But if this finds you late, hey, I hope you had a happy birthday. But for everybody else joining us randomly or returning just to see what's going on today, who's been here before for their own birthday read, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. You know how things go around here, so if you're returning, you know what we do next. That's right. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to take a moment to live up to the namesake and roll some dice. And for you who haven't been here before, I do so to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly. That's right, for synchronicity's sake. Oh, we rolled the logo today. A 1 and a 4 for a 5. That's right. Now, what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering if you haven't been here before. Well, my friends, as I hear tell, when you get out in the world, we kind of got the blinders on, right? There's things that the universe will be putting down in front of us that we're not seeing. And those things are said to help us manifest our goals or realize our aspirations. But if we got the blinders on, hey, we might not take them in for what they are. That's right. Steps to help us get after things that we just want in our life. That's right. So this is a bit of an exercise to get those blinders off, if you like, and recognize the signs that the universe has given us. Ostensibly a sign that we agree upon and we can't help but notice to those ends. That's right. Your daily numbers. Your 1 and your 4 for a 5. Now, you don't have to go with the number I rolled for you, but it is ideal you take something like a set of dice. So dust off that old Yahtzee set. Take a couple dice out so you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to go in those particular directions. And once you've decided to get out there and try to drum up some synchronicity, I don't know, pick a spot out there in the world that, I don't know, maybe you haven't been to in a while, or just something near and dear to your heart, and get on out there. I like to use the town square as an example because there's just a lot of variety in that. There's a lot of things that can present. And so here's the thing. Once you pick your spot, have your numbers and your dice ready, take those blinders off. You never know. The day might start to present themes with you. Oversize this, undersize that. Things that aren't conventionally over or undersized, you know what I'm saying? But you never know what they might be. Like I said, today we had a pool table and a cue ball. Hey, you know what? Maybe you start to see those kinds of things. It might not be the real actual thing. Like to say it might be an advertisement on the side of a bus or a bus bench, a billboard, say. Or you might start seeing people or locations that say speak to as much. You never know. So be on the alert for things like that, or things that just start presenting in kind. You get it. So let's say you set off on your first time value there, directional value, and you're not seeing anything. Well, you know what? Just stop, compose yourself, and look around. See what you see. Maybe you just so happen to notice, boom, you're on Fifth Avenue. That's right. Hey, there you go. Macy's or whatever's on Fifth Avenue, right? You know what? Just take that as a sign you're on the right path, all right? It could be whatever, something with your numbers there. But you know what? Don't get dissuaded. You're on the right path. So roll yourself another time value, directional value. Get after it, all right? Maybe at this point you stop in front of a building that has, I don't know, a 14 or a 5 in the address. Again, another example. And hey, maybe even go in there, see what you see. The universe might be asking you to check things out. And maybe you go into this particular building, and what could it be? Yeah, it might be a pool hall. That's right. You stop in, the person's like, all right, how long you want to rent the table for? And you're like, I'm not here to shoot any balls around. I'm just here on synchronicity, here on account of synchronicity. They say, what are you talking about? Show them your dice, you show them this video, and they'll be like, wow, that's crazy. And you're like, I know, man. And you get your dice out, you start to roll another time value, and they say, no. It's crazy because it's my birthday too. That's right. I like to use that example a lot for everybody that's been here before. So they know what's in store there. You know, stranger things have happened, but you know what? This is kind of the idea. The universe stacking things up for you, bringing things to your path. That's right. So get out there, see, taste, touch, smell, a little bit of magic, coincidences, the kinds of things like that stacking up for you, and you'll see why I brought it up. That's kind of the point. Just seeing the universe with you on your path. So for everybody else who's been here before, your numbers today are 1 and a 4, 4, 5. But for the people whose birthday it is, hey, get on out there. All right, you get the idea? Let's dive in with the birthday read. Your month is January, your day the 24th. Your sign is 3 to 5 degrees Aquarius of the Aquarius I period specifically. And your quality and element is fixed air. All right, January 24th, the day of the Aloof Icon. Those born on January 24 can receive an inordinate amount of admiration and loyalty from those around them. There are certain attractive elements to their active personalities that seem to draw people into them like flies. Yet, of course, this creates its own set of problems. And since so much is put on them by others in terms of psychological projection, in extreme cases amounting to worship, it says in parentheticals, their load is indeed a heavy one to bear. Not only for their fans, but for their family, friends, and associates. And January 24 people often must function as icons, perfect embodiments of what others themselves would like to be. Not surprisingly, jealousy from those who want what they have or feel inferior to them is also common. It is only natural that many January 24 people appear conceited or stuck up, since they often have been placed or have placed themselves in an exalted position from adolescence and early adulthood on. They may adopt an aloof attitude primarily as a defense, which protects their privacy. Another reason may be that they work so hard that they regard personal intrusions as unwanted distractions. And because January 24 people often hold lingering doubts, whether they are as great as they are cracked up to be, they may not wish others to examine them so minutely. However, as long as they respond to the desires and wishes of others and satisfy expectations, they usually manage to maintain their position of high standing. The problem is that they may be completely out of touch with what they themselves want from life. And January 24 people must have the courage to, at some point, break down whatever false images of themselves exist and become the person they really are. One way to realize this is to be more transparent, i.e. more vulnerable in allowing others to see into their thoughts and emotions. And this requires being less distant, partaking in a normal give and take of everyday life, and in sharing of joys and sorrows with others as equals. And in plain terms, January 24 people need to step off their pedestal and get down in a soup with everyone else. And until they do, they will continue to be treated as a kind of rarefied being, which, although providing them with a kind of pleasurable ego massage, really does nothing for their character, personal growth, or spiritual development. And once January 24 people come to realize that the admiration of others can in fact be manipulation, and that they are in fact hooked on it, they will have taken the first step toward change. And giving up certain activities and associates may be essential for their transformation back to themselves. And when they have reached this stage, they will be free to shine once more, but with a true inner light, which need not reflect what others wish to see. All right, you know what? Very focused birthday breakdown today. It's been this way since the beginning of Capricorn. But this was a very interesting dynamic to drill down on to that end. You know, each of these days they pick some facet and they laser focus on it. They don't necessarily round it out too much to include what you like with your family or what your childhood was like or this or that, the other thing. Here they did a little bit in the broad strokes, but again, very interesting facet to drill down on specifically. But I like that they brought in all the different elements as to what might happen if you are granted this exalted status. It's very interesting. That having been said, I like to provide a little bit of commentary on what we've read, try to make connections with past days, etc. So let's dive into some notes here. January 24th, the day of the Aloof Icon. All right, you're apt to receive an inordinate amount of admiration and loyalty from those around you with an active personality that draws people in, which somehow then translates to having to shoulder being the perfect embodiment of who other people may wish they could be. First impressions, that must be quite the kind of magnetism to draw people in such a way. All right. You know, that is if the birthday breakdown applies. Some of you might be like, that's not my life at all. Where's this coming from? Who's to say? But that being said, it could very well be that your life is that way, just not in a way you're very aware of. Could be, because my birthday was exactly like that. I read it and I was like, this doesn't apply at all. And other people were like, it totally does. You just have to look at it like this. And I go, oh my God, boom, it does. So that having been said, back to the notes, it's quite the burden to then have to endure if this applies. All right. What's ironic is if these people could actually be you or have what you have, as the reading claims they do, they'd probably realize it's not at all what it's cracked up to be, or what they want, or what they think they want. It honestly sounds like the pitfall of fame, you know, as far as I was reading it. And it's such a unique, specific trait to drill down on. So yes, I would agree. Those kinds of stakes placing you up on an ivory tower there it makes sense that you would appear conceited or have to adopt some kind of an attitude of indifference to help protect yourself. You know, unfortunate reality is it might make you even more captivating to some of these folks too, at least in my mind. Or it's also going to propagate some antagonists. Who's to say that? Because of the jealousy there. The reading doesn't mention any of this, so maybe I'm totally off base, but it seems plausible or appropriate if you throw the fame aspect in there. Having said that, the reading does claim all this idolation may build up your ego and affect you in a variety of unfortunate ways. That's right, we've all seen the movies, I assume. So lingering doubts of who you are, to say, leaning into what others want you to be, and the potential to get addicted to the feeling that all that brings with it. But all isn't lost, however. All right, as with many of the days, allowing others to see past the facade and engaging in normal life, and not buying into the illusions, are going to get you through, or at least be on a more down-to-earth, admirable journey, I would say. Or at least an honest and hopefully more fulfilling one to that end. So quite the narrowly focused birthday breakdown, like I said. Was kind of thinking once we ventured out of the Capricorn period, these breakdowns will start to get a little more well-rounded like they did before Capricorn. But I guess not, so we'll have to see. But still, I thought they provided a lot of value. But that being said, if you want to stop being that rarefied being, I like when they said you got to get down in the soup with the rest of us. So there you go, pretty interesting. With that having been said, that's been your birthday breakdown. So let's move on to your numbers and your planets. That's right, the numbers and planets. Those born on the 24th day of the month are ruled by the number 6, as 2 plus 4 equals 6. And by the planet Venus, because those ruled by the number 6 are magnetic in attracting love and admiration, and since Venus is strongly connected with social interaction, it is an ever-present temptation for January 24 people to give themselves over to an easy pursuit of pleasure and become an object of admiration. The combination of Venus with Uranus, Aquarius' ruler, can lend nervous and erratic energy, and sometimes cold and aloof qualities to January 24 people in their love and social relationships. And often love becomes the dominant theme in the lives of those ruled by the number 6. All right, number 6, numbers and planets. Okay, here we go. For qualities of attracting love, admiration, and strong connections, social interaction, along with a calling to the temptation of the easy pursuits, primarily those of pleasure, which I would say is a temptation for sure. All right, and if it comes easy, it's even something you take for granted too, I would say. And considering everyone else who has to work for it, and even then, who seldom gets it, right? For you, it's just something like, oh yeah, that comes and goes, like the coming of the tides there. I can see how antagonism get drum up in that respect. So you couple the Venus with Uranus there, the explosive and erratic planet Uranus, which shakes up the qualities of other planets. And it's also got some idiosyncratic traits, and it often speaks to people going by their own sets of rules. So I would say this totally seems to apply here to some extent. However, I would say you might think they're your own set of rules, but I would argue based on the breakdown, maybe it's the ones other people laid out for you. Very interesting. I didn't pick up on that when I was putting the notes together. That having been said, perhaps the ideal quality to lean in on is this individuality that Uranus is said to impart. So perhaps don't lose that in the fog of war that all these other people are kind of throwing at you. The fog of ego, if you like. It's not your true self, all right? What else we have here? This combination of Venus and Uranus, what did it say was love often becomes the dominant theme. And it lends to nervous and erratic energy. The erratic thing's pretty typical with Uranus, so I don't know where the nerves comes from, though. It must just be the coupling of the two. You never quite know with Uranus going to shake things up. We moved out of Capricorn with Saturn, and Saturn really grounded people with its constrictive stuff. And so here, I'm not trying to apply any of Capricorn there, but Capricorn has seemed to bleed through here to no small part, interestingly enough. But that having been said, I think we were talking about here your pursuit of pleasure. Just be wary there. Other people, they could see it as like something that's to be jealous over, but for you, you may just know you can take it for granted there. And I don't know, if you don't have it and it's coming hard to you, you might understand at some point like, whoa, this used to be so much different. Oh, interesting there. Yeah, don't take anything for granted, I think is what I'm coming away with. That haven't been said, that's your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right. A little disjointed there, but hey, let's pick it back up with your tarot. Emphasizing the last point is the fact that the 6th card of the major arcana is the Lovers. All right, symbolizing the love that unites all of humanity through integration of masculine and feminine polarities. And on the good side of this card suggests affections and desires of a high moral aesthetic, but also a physical plane. And on the bad side, it may indicate games of seduction, unfulfilled desires, sentimentality, and indecision. All right, I really never know what to make of the idea of a high moral aesthetic, but also on the physical plane. I don't know. To this day, I still can't quite reconcile what that means. But hey, let's try to dive in with things, see what I had to say about the tarot here. The Lover's card for all that unites us all through the synthesis of male and female polarities. I'd say that one makes a little more sense, even though that's a little bit out there too. But positives of affections and desires, but games of seduction and unfulfilled desires as negatives. And that sounds like someone we know based on the breakdown now, doesn't it? Ideas which bear repeating. All right, if you want to break the trend, you gotta hear it 57 times sometimes, maybe even more. Hopefully less though. If you want to get caught up in the illusions that others foist upon you, then hey, have right at it. But I'm assuming that's not the case, all right? And you also probably don't want worshipers, right? Because they do all sorts of crazy stuff. So I would say it's a rather apt card to some extent, especially based on the negatives there. Just be mindful what you stand to gain on the positive may not be as glamorous as that that's on the negative. I think it takes a little bit, or at least on its face. Hey, you know, we getting all this pleasure stuff coming in, and you know what? It kind of lends to bad things happening, or that massaging of the ego. But I think the stuff on the positive side, much more fulfilling at the end of the day. So we just have to, I don't know, that's why you sow your wild oats early on, right? I'm arguing, who's to say? That said, I would probably want the more meaningful stuff, the stuff that lasts and endures, right? And I would say that's the positive. Anyway, that's your tarot card, so let's move on to your health. That's right, your health. Here we go. Those born on January 24 may be alternately over-attentive and neglectful regarding their physical appearance. And it is important that they adopt a stable, non-obsessive attitude toward their skin, hair, and figure. Joining a sports team, working out in a health club, participating in group therapy, or in yoga class can all benefit their psyche and bring them closer to people. Culinary pursuits, particularly sharing meals with family and friends, is highly recommended. And as far as diet is concerned, those born on this day must beware of starving themselves or indulging in questionable weight-reducing regimens. Highly varied, delicious meals are recommended. And January 24 people often find affection and friendship at least as important as intimate forms of sexual expression. And they do well when they achieve a balance between the two. All right, here we are in the bathroom of the dollhouse. We're getting into the nitty-gritty there. Interesting stuff they had to say, I would argue. All right. Your health. What did they have to say? Alternately over and attentive and negligent of your appearance and disregard for health. All right. Lost my place here. Okay, don't think I've seen this appear before, okay? Certainly a focus on a presence and a disregard, your physical appearance, rather, and your physical well-being. It's just... let me read this all over again because I've seen this before. All right, certainly a focus on appearance and a disregard for health, particularly during the Capricorn period, because they were so dedicated to their career that their health just took a back seat. And sometimes even later in life they wouldn't address it. But here it's a concern for your psyche by and large, over this physical well-being. Which must shake out just fine when stability is finally achieved. When it's not so much so for the Capricorn period, which immediately precedes the Aquarius here. So that's why I'm drawing these parallels, because things have kind of bled over, it seems. We've got social physical activities that mention, particularly those endorsing self-awareness, which seems also important for you, so that you can get out of that rut of people putting you up on the ivory tower there. It makes sense if the breakdown applies. Despite no mention of meditation. I would think meditation would be huge for you so you can come to your own self-awareness, right? But it does creep up now and then. I just find it suspicious they didn't put it here for you. Because it comes up in similar such cases, even though they're totally different there. As follows with appearance, a stable diet is recommended, but no specific foods to be mentioned. And sometimes when they bring up psychological facets, even if it's kind of broad strokes, not to directly mention, the diet gets ditched out of the breakdown, even though it's very common that they get into specific foods to eat. They just said varied and delicious diets. This came up a lot with Capricorn, that they need to expand their culinary facets. And I don't know, I assume that's just so you can incorporate more what you call fresh ingredients there. So I kind of hate when they do this, especially when other days they get so specific. And I bring up Capricorn once again to a fault because the Aquarius body area is said to be the veins or the circulatory system, just like Capricorn. And for them, it was recommended they cut out foods like animal fat, dairy fat, ostensibly to cut out the cholesterol. They could have put that in here, but it would have been pretty easy outside of delicious meals and such. But hey, you know what? Maybe that it's part of that is the pleasure that you derive from something enjoyable, one would argue. They also mention having a friendship or an intimate relationship for sexual expression. And while that particular fast doesn't get mentioned all too often, it's been coming up pretty regular for the Aquarius here. So maybe take note. That's right. Find somebody you can be intimate with on a very intimate level, if you like. You don't say it. Somebody you can share things with. The people who aren't necessarily worshipers. That's right. Someone you can confide in on an actual level. Down in the soup, if you like, and who gets the struggles you're going through. So that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice. All right, your advice. Bring yourself into sync with life around you as an equal. You are something special, but not because people say you are. All right, I like that. Don't be prey to the expectations of others and fight for your own identity. All right, very good advice today, and highly specific to you, I would argue. Most of the days this advice is usually really good, but here I like this one for you. Here we go. They said bring yourself in sync as an equal. All right, huge for you. All right, if the breakdown applies, as I like to say, probably easier to say than do, though I imagine, especially if you've got this exalted status that's been foisted upon you by others, and it probably doesn't at all seem to line up with the things that people are placing you with up on that pedestal. But find that synthesis there, I would say, especially if you're looking for something more meaningful. So you're special, but not because other people say so, they said. Wow, again, great reality check if all that's been said applies. All right, lean in on what makes you special. That's where the real value is, I would say, and not the qualities that others say make you that way. Probably takes work to figure out. That's something we'll talk about here in a little bit. Don't be prey, they said, all right? Fulfill your own needs, okay? Such a weird dynamic here, but don't be in that kind of service to others kind of role where, you're not necessarily doing things for them outside of being that person for them to admire. That is kind of a service in a way there, that fame aspect here. Let's see, set a reasonable balance, and they often come up with this thing that says, don't be a football. And I think that would apply great here, all right? Sometimes comes up, you don't be a football for other people to use. Maybe not in a physical sense, but in that role worship sense, all right? Let's say fight for your identity. You're your own quarterback in the football example, all right? So be the subject acting upon the object, not the other way around. Or is it the object/subject? I always get the grammar mixed up. The point being, be the quarterback, not the football. Just not the aspect of the quarterback who's getting all the women and the furs and the money thrown at him. Now you're getting into the little bit of a different juxtaposition, a different dynamic there with the fame aspect. But you get it. Don't be the football. You might want to be the football if you're thinking about the other quarterback areas there. So, the event, that's been your advice. So let's move on to your meditation. That's right. It's your birthday. You get a meditation. Ostensibly something that's going to do you a lot of good if you're trying to improve in all those areas. All right. A house with no curtains has nothing to hide. Don't know what to think about this one. Once more, a house with no curtains has nothing to hide. Oh, I picked it up. I get it now. It took a second. Hey, that's your meditation. I would love to provide you with my little insight into it, though. Yeah, you know what? You probably picked it up on the first go around. That being said, I'm not going to say what conclusion I came to with it. I do like it for you, however, but it's your birthday, your meditation. It wouldn't be a meditation if it wasn't something for you to consider. But your meditation in the can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's see what the book had to say about distilling all this down, what it comes down to. All right, your strengths, you're admired, you're magnetic, and you're active. All right, but your weaknesses, what did they come up with here? What did we distill from the breakdown here? Your weaknesses, You're self-centered, you're condescending, and you're unconscious. Interesting. I don't know that any of these have come up before. Well, magnetic and active and admired probably have. But the weakness is a little different story here. You know, a lot of times I like to say that our strengths and weaknesses, you know what? What am I trying to say here? If you want to improve upon your weaknesses, your strengths are going to help you do that. In the past few days, I've been having a hard time making my case. Your weaknesses, self-centered, condescending, and unconscious. You know, we understand that based on the breakdown, you know, you're falling into this role where you're not necessarily understanding what's really going on with things because people have kind of gaslit you into this understanding that you're the be-all, end-all. So you're unconscious to such things. And I often like to argue that weaknesses are strengths. I don't know that these things are necessarily strengths. I could dream up some crazy situation. I often like to go into the boardroom where you know, you're trying to do some kind of contract negotiation. If you seem aloof or whatever, people might go, okay, we'll drum something up here because you don't seem to be caught into what we're trying to put down here. And I don't know. It doesn't really stand up here. So I often like to say your weaknesses can be strengths because I have seen them trade back and forth depending upon the day and the individual. But I also like to see sometimes it's a situation that dictates to say being self-centered might be a strength depending upon the situation. I can't think of it, but you know what? In the boardroom, perhaps being self-centered, they're going to go, you know what? This guy drives a hard bargain. You know, so we're going to meet that price he's asking for. Kind of the thing I would do there. But that having been said, I also like to argue don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether, even if we can take our strengths and then bring them down and get rid of them, because I think our weaknesses make us kind of who we are, so they're kind of important to retain some facet of. So any event, I didn't have any great example for the argument I was trying to make. I think you get the point there. But hey, those are your strengths and your weaknesses, all right? You're admired, magnetic, and active, and your weaknesses, you're self-centered, condescending, and unconscious. Just like I'm unconscious to my argument there. That's right. So your strengths and weaknesses having been relayed, let's dive in with those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, not only we get to see who shares your company, but something I like to do is look at that through the prism of trying to figure out our passions and trying to rekindle our fires for driving after the things that we get fulfillment from in our life, if we even know what those are, because a lot of times people don't. I've tended to notice, even with myself, sometimes I gotta put in some work to figure out how to make the things I want to do, the things that I like, fit into my life or fit into somehow making some money, so that I'm jumping out of bed in the morning ready to get on my day, eager to do the things that I have before me. Otherwise I'd be pushing some dead-end job that I hated and that I felt like a zombie going through. And it took years to figure out how to get myself out of those things and into something else that was a little bit different. So that having been said, that's the focus here. So not only do we get to see who shares your company, let's see what they did to get in the book, and maybe we can take some inspiration and drum up some energy to get after driving after our own passions. Or if you're doing that already, maybe if you're not making it financially viable, other ways to formulate making it viable. That's right. So let's dive into it and rekindle those fires. All right, here we go. We have Hadrian, the Roman emperor and perhaps the greatest of all, it says. Expanded the empire to the east and ruled 21 years. We also have Frederick the Great, the Prussian ruler and the commanding general flutist, man of letters. We also have E.T.A. Hoffmann, a German short story writer and a composer. We also have Pierre A. Carandet, Marquet, French 18th century writer, dramatist, responsible for The Barber of Seville and Marriage of Figaro, and was also a composer. The French names always get me. All right, we have Edith Wharton, a novelist of Ethan Frome fame. We also have Robert Motherwell, a painter. We also have Maurice Cobbet de Merville, French cabinet minister, foreign affairs, as well as finance. John Belushi, the TV comic of Saturday Night Live fame, and was also a comic film actor. We have Natasha Kinski, film actress. Ernest Borgnine, film actor. Neil Diamond, the singer-songwriter. We have Maria Tallchief, a ballet dancer. Mary Lou Retton, U.S. Olympic all-round gymnastics gold medalist. Desmond Morris, an anthropologist and writer of The Naked Ape. We have Oral Roberts, an evangelist, like I said it really proud, drawn out, multimillionaire writer and responsible for God's formula of success and propensity, and also a university founder. We also have Warren Zevon, a rock singer and songwriter, Mark Goodson, TV producer, multimillionaire, and Bill Todman, partner, it says. We also have Sharon Tate, the film actress who married Roman Polanski and was the Manson murder victim at age 28, unfortunately. We also have Elliot Abrams, an assistant secretary of state, Robert W. Caston Jr., a U.S. senator, and a congressman of Wisconsin. All right, and those are the folks they've listed being born on your day there. I know it's a big-ass tall order to take inspiration from somebody else's passions, but I don't know, maybe me putting the bug in your ear about to help you stir up the fires if that's something wanting in your life. I don't know if there might be some folks a passion is just to be adored, but I can't imagine that's a very fulfilling life. But hey, if it is, no judgment. But if you want something more, hey, you know what? Maybe me putting the bug in the ear about figuring out your passions and get you start carving out time to put in the energy to figure that out. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that. It's that you're driving after something that you're eager to get into and that you find fulfilling. That's right. So, in the event, that's been those born on this day, which essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is winter. Your sign, once again, is Aquarius, of the Aquarius I period specifically, and your quality and element is fixed air. And this has been January 24th, the day of the Aloof Icon, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up your own copy. I soon have to listen to some guy drone on about it, ad infinitum. Hey, it makes an excellent coffee table book if you're the sort who wants to start throwing some parties and maybe break the ice in a unique way. Start reading people's birthdays, see how they react, see if it matches up to the person that you know and ostensibly love there. Or maybe you don't know them. Maybe the book has something to relate to that man. Maybe they've been gaslighting you all this time, and now you figured out the root cause of why they clamoring on to you and acting like you're God's gift there, if the breakdown applies. Now, I think you get it. That having been said, the book having been related, not altogether all too important in the scheme of things. And like I said at the top, what's important is it's your birthday. And if it's your birthday today, I just want to say happy birthday once more. All right, and for everybody else whose birthday it isn't there, who just joined us to celebrate, hey, I want to say thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed yourselves and you join us for your birthday read. But if you're a return viewer, hey, you know what? And for you birthday boys and girls, boom, your daily numbers. That's why you're here. All right, you're 1 and you're 4 for a 5. It's the logo today here, turned a certain way there. That's right, DykASSt birthday broadcast. So, once again, happy birthday. And you know what? Take care of yourselves. You've got the potential to be your own individual, not the one that others wish to define for you. That's right. So lean into Uranus's idiosyncratic nature, even if you don't believe in the astrology type thing. I don't know what to make of it myself, but it's in the book. Hey, let's take some inspiration and evolve, right? That's right. So once again, happy birthday. Take care of yourselves. Oh, hey, and before I forget, it's been a pleasure to celebrate your birthday with you. All right, it's been a privilege. Take care of yourselves. I always want to add that at the end, but I forget a lot of time.